Hi, welcome to My Outdoors. My name's Davey Wright. Today we're going to be talking about the first mountain wingsuit base jump in the UK. We're going to be talking to Tim Howell, the wingsuit flyer, and the photographer who captured the whole thing, Hamish Frost. Hi there, how you doing? We have decided to do a bit of a chat with two guys involved in a project that happened last week, but I'll let them introduce that. My name's Davey Wright, and I'll pass over to Tim.
Hi there, guys. So we managed to do the first wingsuit base jump in the UK, and of course, no one better to capture the moment than Hamish Frost.
I should clarify that when Tim says we did the first wingsuit base jump,
yeah,
I was not doing any wingsuit base jumping myself. That was
it's an inclusive project, you know. It's often about the team that's there and not just the individual.
So Tim let me know about a month or so beforehand that he was thinking about this project and asked me if I wanted to come along and capture it. And I was up in the area at the same time, so came along.
So it was just by pure chance you were in the area, or did you make yourself?
Well, Tim had given me a heads up, and it worked out quite well because I think since lockdown's eased, I've been up to the northwest about 4 or 5. I had 4 trips up to the northwest, so I was up photographing some climbing that week anyway. So I mean, I would have come up anyway, but it was just worked out well that I was up in the area anyway, so made it convenient.
Okay.
And it was even more meant to be because I was supposed to be in Scotland this week, but this week they've announced that there's the quarantine for people coming from Switzerland, so I wouldn't have been able to do it this week anyway. So
that probably leads quite nicely into so tell a bit about yourself, Tim, because you are based in Switzerland, is that right?
Yeah, based in Switzerland, which has been pretty good during lockdown. It's been mostly guidelines, and there's not many people running around the mountains anyway, making huge queues up Snowdon or anything. So it's been great, and it's actually given me the opportunity to kind of focus on flying, getting the skills and experience needed to do this project.
Okay.
In England. So I think without the lockdown, maybe it wasn't even going to happen this year. I just don't think I would have the focus for it.
So just going back to the start, just a little bit and very briefly, where did it all come from? Where did wingsuiting come from, and obviously mixed with the alpine stuff that you do?
I mean, wingsuiting has always been a step for me from base jumping, and base jumping was kind of a step from climbing. But specifically in the UK, I think it's never been done before, so it's always nice to try and do something that's never been done before and get all those skills to be able to pull it off safely. But yeah, it was quite a technical jump. So it took a lot of training.
So for me, for being a layman, what makes that a technical jump?
Yeah, so I suppose to find a new wingsuit jump, you need maybe three, 4 things. You need a vertical height to get the wingsuit flying, so the initial cliff.
Okay.
You need an overall height from exit to landing, which if it's less than 500 meters, it's probably not worth flying. You don't get enough time in the air to actually fly. And then you need a landing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the 4th thing is the terrain underneath the vertical cliff has to be steep enough to fly over. So if it's flat, you can't fly at a 1-to-1 ratio. So it needs to be steep.
Okay.
And if one of those aren't in the criteria that you need, the whole thing won't be possible.
Right.
And if one of them isn't as good as another one, then you want the other one to be even better. So you want a bigger cliff to start with, so you can fly over the flat terrain, something like that.
Okay.
So these 4 variables that you need, there's not many locations like that in the UK.
Okay. So, Hamish, how did you get involved in this? Like, we know you for I know you for the kind of adventure photography, landscape photography, and the stuff that you do for climbing, etc. I suppose, as Tim said, there was a natural progression there. But how did you get involved in this project?
Well, I've photographed Tim base jumping a few times before. So I think the first time Tim was it 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, 3 years ago on my birthday.
Yeah, 3 years ago on your birthday. Yeah, we were out in the Alps. We were actually both out in the Alps at the same time, and we hadn't actually met before, but we kind of exchanged messages previously. And Tim got in touch to say, well, it's the day before he was going to go do it. He said he was planning to climb the Trident de Tackle, which is this big granite spire just on the side of Mont Blanc de Tackle. So he asked me if I wanted to come along and photograph that. So yeah, I joined in with a mate of mine. We climbed us 2 pairs up the top of this tower, and Tim Base jumped off it. And then I think a year later, we were both out in the Alps again, same time, and this ended up being a shoot for one of Tim's sponsors, Jotnar. So we went and climbed the Diablerette, which is this kind of classic alpine ridge line that leads up to the top of the tackle. And Tim opened up a new base jump exit off that. And then I photographed you base jumping on Skye as well, off the Great Prow on Blaven. And is that it? Have we done one more, or?
I think that's it. But we've never.
I have photographed Tim a few times base jumping before. So, but this was the first time wingsuit base jumping.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, so I suppose the main question for me, or that comes up a lot, I'm sure, is it not dangerous? Is wingsuit flying not? Like, yeah. How do you manage that risk? I think with everything, obviously, there's a risk. How have you managed that? And I think you talked about it a minute ago about the preparation stuff. So
I think it's more dangerous the less you know and the less experience you have. So I mean, staying current, gaining these kind of tools in your tool bag to add up cumulatively to be able to pull something like this off. So it's not just being able to fly a wingsuit. It's being able to. I've been training for short starts, high glide, technical landings. All these extra little things. Also analysing the data, being able to measure the cliff, and looking at the weather. All these things that I've gained from quite a few years jumping now. I've kind of come together to make this one happen.
Yeah.
I'd say from my point of view as a sort of casual observer who doesn't know a huge amount about base jumping or wingsuit base jumping. I mean, I've now seen Tim jump a few times, and there's no recklessness or kind of like hurriedness or rashness there at all. I mean, you can see the way Tim goes up and treats his jumps very seriously and prepares, and you just get a feeling that if things went right, Tim wouldn't jump. So it's all very meticulous and seems very well planned and prepared.
I saw from your Facebook post.
Word there, Hamish.
Right, so what's that, Tim?
Seems is the key word there. Seems.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah. Well, and I sort of quoted. I've got a quote here from your Facebook post, Hamish, where it said there was no recklessness or maybes. That was, you put that in the post you put on Facebook, and it's something I took from it, because I thought there must have been a lot of thought and so for that particular jump, then what would have you got up there? It's a heck of a walk in to jump out.
Yeah.
What would have pulled the pin on that? What would have stopped it?
So we did the same walk the day before just to recce it. And then my friend's done it the day before, previously, I think a year before or something, to give it a really basic recce for me, just to say, yeah, it looks big, here's a photo. So without him, I probably wouldn't have gone at all. So yeah, there was a lot of time and effort that went into it. But putting the pin, I mean, that's one reason why I really wanted Hamish there as well. Hamish really alleviates the pressure of doing it and actually jumping for the wrong reasons, I suppose. There was lots of other guys that were keen to video the jump and stuff, and it was actually really refreshing just to have Hamish there at the exit point, because I know that as soon as I go that he's going to be there taking the photo. I didn't have to wait or really work with him, like, I'm going to go, are you ready, you got the angle. I knew Hamish was going to get it, so that was great. But yeah, when you're on the exit point, it's, if there were any maybes, then that's not enough that's too much for me. Any sort of maybe is too much.
Yeah.
Especially with a jump this technical. It was a very short rock drop with a high glide, with a very narrow channel to fly in. So everything had to go right. So if there was anything kind of out, then I just wouldn't have been comfortable. And it would have been very hard for me to say no. But it wouldn't have been the first time I'd walk back down after saying no. So.
Yeah. You had a few distractions in the build-up as well, didn't you? With the
sure
going and quite a lot of people coming past. So yeah,
I felt a little bit bad. I tried to be as pleasant as possible to the people who were walking past, asking questions, but I just needed to be focused. And they've actually messaged me since on Instagram and stuff, saying, "Oh, I saw you that day," and hopefully I wasn't too.
I suppose.
Yeah, and then in the end, I said no to the drone. The drone battery had like 5 minutes life on it, and I just didn't want that pressure of that window of 5 minutes of have to jump in that window. So I just said it's not worth it for me. I just want to get this done properly.
So I imagine, in talking about the distractions of other people, I imagine the focus that's required prior to, there must be some kind of zone that you have to go to, or like in your mind to be able to pull any of these jumps off.
For me, it's all about being calm. You know, if your heart beats running 100 miles an hour, you know, you're not focused. Your mind's darting all over the place. What can go wrong? And when your mind's like that, if something does go wrong, everything accentuates. Everything gets even worse. So my whole mantra on the walk in was just, you know, stay calm, strong push, on heading, glide, flight, and pull. And I just really wanted to be focused on being calm. And then everything, once you're calm, you're just focused on the task in hand, you know. And it really worked for me because it was one of the best exits that I had. There's a side view video, and you can see there's almost no drop in the wingsuit. It's a very steady glide forwards. And all the GPS data that I recorded from it said it was a very good flight. So so it seemed to work.
Good effort. So how long from jumping to landing? Is there you'll have that time, I would imagine. How long does that take?
Yeah. So I mean, within all the variables that we have in the UK, you know, it's a wingsuit flight, but it's nothing compared to the Alps where we can fly for minutes and minutes. So it's
not a far distance from Berkeley, Berkeley seat to where you landed
it was 500 vertical meters, and as the crow flies, it was 500. As the crow flies, but I had to fly around the corner, so it was probably more. Right. 500. But it was just under 40 seconds in the wingsuit and then 40 seconds under canopy. So I could have flown a little bit further and then sacrificed some of the time under canopy. But there was a big lake in the way. I wanted to make sure I didn't land in the water, and it's always safer to pull high and make sure you set up your landing properly.
Okay. So how did that become the only, or I assume it's not the only place, but that location, how did it become the place to do it, or to do the first one? Is there any other options within the UK?
I mean, this is where it's quite handy talking to people like Hamish and other photographers that have been around the place, because they're like, oh, what have you thought about this one? Have you thought about this one? So there's potentially more out there, but none that really come to mind with a basic study on Google Earth or anything like that. So this one really came about because my friend had jumped it without the wingsuit a couple of years beforehand.
Okay.
And then it goes into a Google Earth study, and I can figure out the ratio of the flight path, you know, how steep the terrain is. And then after that, you still need to go there and actually laser it properly and see if it will really work out.
Okay. So who brought the location to your attention then? Was that a friend of yours, did you say?
Yeah, so it was originally a post on Instagram that I saw of this, you know, Lord Berkeley seat. You can sit beside it and get this beautiful profile of it. It's stunning. So I saw that photo, and that was on the list of to-do jumps, not thinking that it would ever be a wingsuit jump.
Right.
Then my friend, you know, we all have the same ideas. We see a picture, we're like, we want to jump that. Then my friend Josh, he jumped it, and then he jumped it way before me and said, you know, this might go for a wingsuit jump. And then that's what really took me to flying over to Edinburgh and driving up there and checking it out.
Fair enough. So Hamish, what preparation do you need to do for that location? I saw there was a couple of, looking at some of the videos in the that have been online already. There's people underneath you as well, I think. But obviously, Hamish, you were at the exit point. What preparation do you need to do there? Like what?
I didn't, not a massive amount for this really. Tim gave me a heads up about a month beforehand that he was planning on giving this spot a go. So at that point, I did a quick look on Google Earth and Google Maps. I had a bit of a think about where the sun was going to be at the right time of the day, and I suggested to Tim morning would be a good time to do it if the conditions align, because it would make for getting the sun in the right spot so that it kind of lit him up while he jumped. Whenever I suggest these kind of things, I caveat them by saying, look, it's take it on board, but you do you, and what planning you need to do to make it work. Don't go and change plans just for the sake of making cool photos. And then other than that, I mean, up on Anchilak, it's the best view on Anchilak is obviously of the ridge behind, but that wasn't going to work from this exit point. So I just kind of figured I'd go up with an open mind, bring up a static rope to hang off in case I need to get below the exit, which I didn't need to in the end. And I tend to find for these base jumping shots, the best viewpoint is to get just a little bit below the exit point, and then you can get the base jumper or Tim or whoever flying past you, and that gives a really immersive shot. And that's basically what we went for here. Yeah.
Okay. And well, pretty successful, from my perspective anyway, from the viewing public as it were. Tim, what do you think?
Sorry, mate.
The pictures certainly did it justice from my perspective, from the viewing.
Yeah,
public,
I mean, I call that angle there like the Hamish base jump angle. That's, I've not. Yeah, you know, I work with quite a few photographers, but nobody sees that sort of angle, and it's So the places that we've shot as well, especially, you know, the view that you're jumping out to is so incredible. It's so for Hamish to be able to shoot that wide with that view and you jumping, it's just I mean, I'm not a photographer, but I always think, you know, how do I get the jumper with what he's jumping off? And it's you don't even see what I'm jumping off, which I think, as Hamish says, makes it so immersive. It's like, you know, what you're seeing is what the jumper's seeing.
Yeah.
I guess I tried to go for getting something where it feels like you're there jumping with him.
Yeah.
It's technically it's not that difficult a shot to get technically, but you've obviously only got one chance to get it right, so you can't ask Tim to go do it again. So it does feel slightly high pressure, but nothing compared to the kind of pressure Tim's going.
Well, that probably leads on to the next question: is well, what are you thinking? And you mentioned earlier about being focused with particularly that jump. What's going through your mind at exit point, standing there waiting to go?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, it's just for me just being super calm. If you've done something enough beforehand, you know, the hundreds and hundreds of jumps that I've done, it's just letting that muscle memory kick in. And just being super relaxed and just doing what you know, what your body knows. And in the flight, it's just very intuitive flying. You know, I'm not thinking specifically, I need to turn a bit here, I need to turn a bit here, I need to go faster here. I'm not feeling, I suppose, any sort of excitement. As soon as the wingsuit picks up speed and I'm going forwards, then I'm like, wow, I've got out of that tricky area, that crux. Now I've got to fly out, and next the parachute is open. Then you're like, awesome, that's working. That's the next little bit of excitement. And then when you're landed, it's all done. So,
is that when it kicks in? Is that when the excitement kicks in, when it's done?
When you're landed, you know, that's when it's all done and dusted. That's when it really counts. I've never been as happy on this jump as I have.
Does it all go by quite quickly, Tim?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it is only
Never blow.
35-second flight or something, but yeah, there's no real emotion as you're flying. It's just this is the task in hand. Once I've landed, though, that was another matter. I was just I was over the moon.
Yeah. No, I'm not surprised. So then, like, your walk out and everybody else's walk out is completely different. You've done the hard part coming down. Like,
yeah, I mean, on previous shoots with Hamish, they're subjected to a couple of hours of abseiling and stuff. Fortunately, this one wasn't so bad. It was a steady track downhill. But there were two guys at the bottom, so we all walked out together around that side of the mountain, and the other guys, Hamish and a friend of mine that was on top, Rory, they walked out at the top, and we all met back at the pub. So perfect.
brilliant. And you stay up there that night?
I don't know. No, we all drove on. That was the last day of the trip.
Oh, was it? Oh, so no celebratory beers, no?
Oh yeah, we had I think we had celebratory orange juice or something.
Oh right, yeah, rock and roll.
yeah, pretty much.
But so now that you've pulled off a wingsuit flight in the UK, do you think there'll be other people follow suit? Not particularly your exit, or we'll not call it your exit. Well, I suppose it is your exit point. Is there a risk? Is there a risk of? Well, the bigger question is there a risk of people being drawn into it?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I think when you're playing these sort of games, it's always big boy rules. I'm not going to feel guilty if somebody else tries it and spuds into the deck. That's what I do think is important is information and the being able to give people information, because then it's on their own head.
Yeah.
So I'm actually I wanted to do a small blog about what it took me to do it, the training that I did, the numbers, what sort of conditions I looked for, how it came about and everything. And there are various sites and channels for information to tell people. But I think most people, if they're at this end of the wingsuiting game, then they know what they're looking at, and they're the side effects is pretty full on. So people try and not let ego or get in the way.
So does the community kind of talk to each other? Like, so other wingsuiters will come, oh, you've done that exit, can you
Yeah. I mean, I put a few numbers out there of how high and how far the flight was and stuff, and a few people have asked me and said, how do I get there? And so we'll see if it gets repeated. For me, it's very interesting to see. I think you definitely get it from the climbing point of view, is once you know something's done, it's so much more accessible. When people knew the first 9A was achievable, then it's possible, like the 8 mile marathon, or there's lots of examples. I'm not comparing myself to that. but once it's possible, it's possible. So we'll see. It'll be really interesting to see if anyone else finds anything else or repeats this one.
So will you look back to the UK for another exit point, or will you? Is that?
There's maybe 2 others that I've got in mind, but they're even more technical than this one, and I feel like there's no need to push it even further. So yeah, it's been a really good season. So I think definitely for now I'll leave it as it is. Yeah, there's a lot of other things that I want to do that are higher on the list at the moment.
Well, that leads right on to the next question, doesn't it? So the next big question is, what's next? What short term, long term?
Yeah, same sort of things, but around the world. So first flights in different countries, highest altitude jumps as well. There's a few ideas for that. First flights in Uganda and Kenya, and just quite like the the exploratory side of things. So yeah, we'll see when the world clears up where I'm allowed to visit and
see what
how easy it is.
What that brings, what it allows. And
Yeah.
what about yourself, Hamish? Have you got stuff going on at the moment, and how's this all affecting you and what you do? Oh, he's
Oh, I'm
muted.
muted. I'm back up to the northwest tomorrow actually to photograph
Okay.
more climbing, and then yeah, I mean work obviously got completely shut down during lockdown, but it's just started picking up again properly. So I've got various shoots to plan in the next month or so now. So
Good.
Which is good.
Excellent. Well, I didn't want to make it too long because well, I didn't want to take up any more of your time because thanks again for making the time to do this. Any shout outs you want for sponsors, either of you, that you want to kind of thank or how? Well, there's a question before we go there. How did the sponsors help you make this happen?
For me, I mean, I only really want to be sponsored by companies that you trust in the gear and their values, and you really welcome their support. So the three companies that made this really happen for me is Jotnar, obviously, and then the two base jumping brands, Adrenaline Base and Phoenix Fly, which probably means nothing to most people, and it's not going to change anything in terms of them hearing the names. But yeah, you know, when you're on the edge of a cliff and literally the gear that you're using can determine your outcome in the next few minutes. Yeah, you really want to make sure you've got the best gear. So yeah, it's pretty important to me to be supported by some really trustworthy gear.
And you, Hamish, Andy, for you for shouting out, or you? No, I just came along. Same for letting me tag along. That's it, really.
The results of you just coming along has been allowed it to be documented. So the way it has. So I think there's certainly kudos that needs to lie there. But obviously for the main event, for the first UK wingsuit base jump, did I get that? First UK mountain wingsuit base jump.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a whole other subject, but first wingsuit from a mountain.
Yes, in the UK. So yeah, no, that's excellent, and thanks again for today. And it's been good talking to you both about how both your perspectives on the kind of same event.
Cheers, Harry. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks.
Well, that was My Outdoors first, a Zoom call interview. I want to thank Tim and Hamish for their time. They are busy guys. Actually, straight after that, Tim was jumping in the car and driving down to the Eiger for a route he's got planned, and Hamish is a busy man as well. I really want to thank him for the pictures that he's allowed me to put into the interview, and you'll see his pictures all over the UK media because I've seen them myself. So, thanks very much. My name's Davey Wright, and this has been My Outdoors.